Over the next 5 days, the atmosphere above the United States is expected to unleash tornadoes, giant hail, destructive winds, wildfire danger, and even glowing auroras across the night sky. Meteorologists say these are not separate events. They are all being driven by one massive atmospheric shift now reorganizing weather patterns across North America, and what happens on Sunday and Monday could become the most dangerous part of this entire outbreak. If you want to stay updated on dangerous weather events across the United States, including tornado outbreaks, giant storms, and rare atmospheric phenomena, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because over the next 5 days, a dangerous weather pattern could begin unfolding across America. From Texas to Wisconsin, the threat of severe thunderstorms, giant hail, destructive winds, and possible tornado outbreaks is expected to increase, and the most unusual part, during the same time period, rare aurora lights could become visible across parts of the night sky. So make sure to watch until the end, because today, we're going to break down how one massive atmospheric shift could trigger multiple extreme weather events across the United States at the same time. The atmosphere over the United States is beginning to change in a way that meteorologists are watching very closely. Over the past several days, weather models have started locking onto a large-scale atmospheric shift, now reorganizing weather patterns across North America. And according to forecasters, this setup could trigger multiple dangerous weather events at the same time. Across parts of the western United States, dry air and powerful winds are creating elevated wildfire danger. Meanwhile, across the Central Plains and Midwest, conditions are becoming increasingly favorable for severe thunderstorms, giant hail, destructive straight-line winds, and possible tornado outbreaks. At the same time, a geomagnetic storm connected to solar activity may allow auroras to become visible across parts of the northern United States. Meteorologists say these events may seem unrelated on the surface, but many of them are being connected by the same large-scale atmospheric reorganization now taking place over the continent. Right now, a powerful Rossby wave phase shift is reshaping the jet stream across North America. Rossby waves are massive atmospheric patterns that control how warm air, cold air, moisture, and storm systems move around the planet. When these waves shift position, the entire weather pattern over a continent can change. And that is exactly what is happening right now. For much of the past several weeks, a ridge pattern dominated the western United States, while cooler conditions remained over the eastern half of the country. But now, that setup has completely flipped. A deep trough is beginning to dig into the western United States, while a strengthening ridge expands over the eastern half of the country. This new configuration is creating the perfect environment for severe weather development across the plains. The first impacts were already seen across parts of Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, and Utah. Extremely dry air combined with powerful winds created dangerous fire weather conditions across multiple western states. Relative humidity levels dropped into the single digits in some areas. When air becomes that dry, even a small spark can rapidly turn into a fast-moving wildfire. At the same time, high-based thunderstorms began developing across portions of the northern Rockies and high plains. These storms were capable of producing dry microbursts. A dry microburst forms when rain falls from a thunderstorm, but evaporates before reaching the ground because of extremely dry air below the cloud base. That evaporation cools the air rapidly, causing it to crash toward the surface at very high speeds. Some areas recorded wind gusts reaching more than 70 miles per hour, and because the ground vegetation is already dry, lightning strikes from these storms increased wildfire ignition concerns even further. But that was only the beginning of the pattern. As the upper-level trough continued moving eastward, warm and moisture-rich air from the Gulf of Mexico began surging north into the Central Plains. That moisture is now colliding with colder air and stronger winds higher in the atmosphere. And that combination is one of the key ingredients needed for severe thunderstorms. Across Kansas, Oklahoma, and surrounding states, atmospheric instability is rapidly increasing. Meteorologists are closely monitoring several important ingredients now coming together across the plains. Surface dew points are climbing, wind shear is strengthening, and instability is continuing to build through the afternoon hours. When those ingredients combine in the right environment, rotating thunderstorms known as supercells can begin to form. Supercells are the most dangerous type of thunderstorm because they are capable of producing giant hail, destructive winds, and tornadoes. Forecasters say some storms could produce hailstones as large as baseballs. Hail that size can fall at speeds approaching 100 miles per hour and cause major damage to vehicles, roofs, windows, and crops. But the tornado threat is also beginning to increase, especially across Oklahoma and Kansas. The atmosphere is becoming more supportive of rotating storms capable of producing tornadoes. One of the biggest reasons is the strengthening low-level jet. The low-level jet is a fast-moving band of wind that transports warm Gulf moisture northward into the plains. As this jet strengthens, storms gain access to additional rotation and energy, and that significantly increases tornado potential. Meteorologists believe Sunday could become the most dangerous day of this entire setup. By Sunday afternoon, a deep surface low-pressure system is expected to develop near Kansas. As atmospheric pressure falls, instability across the warm sector is expected to intensify even more. At the same time, the dry line is forecast to sharpen across parts of Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. A dry line is the boundary where extremely dry desert air collides with warm, humid Gulf air, and that collision zone often becomes the focal point for explosive thunderstorm development. Forecasters expect multiple discrete supercells to form along the dry line Sunday afternoon and evening. Discrete supercells are particularly dangerous because they remain isolated from other storms. That allows them to maintain stronger rotation for longer periods of time. And stronger rotation means a greater potential for significant tornadoes. Several forecast models indicate that tornado warnings may be issued across parts of Oklahoma, Kansas, and southern Nebraska by Sunday evening. Storm chasers are already preparing and positioning across the plains. National Weather Service offices are closely monitoring radar trends and atmospheric conditions. Emergency management agencies are also preparing for the possibility of widespread severe weather impacts. But the severe weather threat may not end Sunday night. The same storm system is expected to continue intensifying into Monday. The Storm Prediction Center has already outlined a large severe weather risk area stretching from Texas all the way into Wisconsin. And meteorologists say the size of that outlook is unusual this far in advance. Typically, long-range severe weather outlooks remain small or show limited confidence. But in this case, several major forecast models are showing a very similar atmospheric setup. That level of agreement increases forecaster confidence significantly. By Monday, the warm sector could expand even farther north and east into parts of the Midwest. That means severe thunderstorms may spread into Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, and surrounding states. Some storms may eventually organize into a large squall line. A squall line forms when multiple thunderstorms merge together into one long line of severe storms. These systems are capable of producing widespread destructive winds across hundreds of miles. Straight-line wind gusts above 70 miles per hour may become possible in some locations, and in many cases, those winds can cause damage similar to weak tornadoes. Heavy rainfall may also become a concern. If thunderstorms repeatedly move across the same areas, flash flooding could develop rapidly. Urban areas and low-lying regions would be especially vulnerable to flooding. But while all of this is happening in the atmosphere below, another event is unfolding far above Earth. The Space Weather Prediction Center has issued a geomagnetic storm watch connected to increased solar activity. Geomagnetic storms occur when charged particles from the sun interact with Earth's magnetic field. When that interaction becomes strong enough, auroras can become visible much farther south than usual. That means portions of the northern United States may see glowing green and purple aurora lights in the night sky. States including Minnesota, Wisconsin, New York, and Washington may have opportunities to view the aurora under dark sky conditions. Normally, auroras are associated with regions closer to the Arctic Circle, but during stronger geomagnetic storms, they can expand much farther south across North America. That contrast is part of what makes this entire week so unusual. In some parts of the country, people may spend the evening watching glowing auroras overhead, while in other parts of the United States, severe thunderstorms and tornado warnings may already be developing. Meteorologists are also becoming increasingly concerned about how long this overall pattern may last. Some extended range forecast models suggest this western trough pattern may remain active into late May and possibly early June. If that happens, the atmosphere could continue reloading for additional severe weather outbreaks across the plains. Late spring is already one of the most active severe weather periods of the year across the central United States. And with Gulf moisture remaining active, tornado potential may continue beyond this current outbreak window. That is why forecasters are encouraging people across the plains and Midwest to remain weather aware over the coming days. Emergency alerts should remain enabled. NOAA weather radios should be fully charged and ready, and severe weather warnings should never be ignored, because when the atmosphere becomes this organized, conditions can change very quickly. Meteorologists will continue monitoring radar data, satellite imagery, and forecast models closely throughout the week. Because right now, the biggest question is no longer whether severe weather will develop, but how intense this evolving pattern may ultimately become across the United States.